Good morning, Pop.
Good
It's
morning.
day eight of the confinement, and we're doing breakfast stories with John. What story are you going to tell today, Pop?
I thought I'd talk about West Drayton. I was once a controller at the London Air Traffic Control Centre, which was at West Drayton. And West Drayton was a large building and then divided into two operational rooms, one civilian and one military. And I was on the military side. The civilians looked after all the flights on what are called airways, which are corridors of the sky, controlled airspace down which all the airliners and that sort of aircraft fly. The outside space, outside of the corridors, was operated by the military. And inside the ops room we had consoles, which are like upturned dustbins, I suppose. And at the end of it was an orange screen, like a television screen. And on the screen were lots of wriggly worms. And those wriggly worms were all the aircraft that you can see flying in the sky. And the object was to identify the aeroplanes that you were controlling and keep them apart from all the other wriggly worms that were on the screen. And I was working the infamous Console 23. All the consoles had numbers, and 23 was the southwest of England. Devon, Cornwall, Wiltshire, Hampshire, Gloucestershire, Worcestershire, sort of from South Wales across towards London, and then from Lynham, Oxford, down to the south coast. So all that area was Console 23. Yes, Console 23. It was December, and I'd been warned by my allocator, who is the supervisor, that I was controlling three diverted aircraft that were going from Gatwick, where they couldn't land because of snow, and they were diverting to Exeter. And I had the call signs and the numbers. And when they came on, I gave them what is called a squawk, which is a transmitter in an aeroplane, and you put in a four-digit number, and you could identify, excuse me, you could identify your aeroplane from everybody else's aeroplane. So for 23, 7 was the number for military, 23 was the 23 the console I was on, and then you give them number 1, 2, 3, 4. So 7231, 7234, 7233, or 7235, whatever number came up, you could identify that as a number, and it used to follow your wriggly worm across the screen. So I had 3 on, 1, 2 and 3. They were, I suppose, a half an hour from Exeter, and I decided I would contact Exeter Airport and find out what the weather was to pass it to the pilots, so they were aware of what the conditions were. And we had direct lines to all the military airfields, places like St Morgan, but we had to dial Exeter Airport by telephone. I dialed Exeter Airport, and the voice at the other end said, "Hello." Thought strange, I'm not like a controller. So I said, "Hello, can I have your latest weather?" And this gentleman said, "Do I understand you if you wish me to look out the window and see if it's raining or snowing?" I said, "Don't muck about, just let me give you your latest weather." He said, "I don't know who you are," he said, "but you're a very rude gentleman." I said, "Who am I speaking to?" He said, "You're speaking to the vicar of St Mary's in Exeter. My son has just been diverted to Exeter, and I was ringing Exeter Airport to find out what time he was landing." So he said, "Go away and let me ring the airport." And what had happened was, I dialed Exeter Airport at the same time as this gentleman, and we'd met midway and were talking to each other, and neither of us were talking to Exeter Airport. Well, while this kerfuffle was going on, I have a button and a light and a flashing buzzer that indicated somebody in the civilian ops room was trying to contact me. So I pushed my button and the voice said, "Hello, is that Council Daisley?" I said, "Go away, I've got no time for jokes," and switched the buzzer off. A couple of minutes later, buzzer went again, pushed the button, the voice said, "Hello, is that Council 23? I said, "Piss off, I'm not about to play jokes," and I switched it off. Now, when we were at controllers, we had an assistant, a female assistant I had on this occasion, and she said, "Sir, I've got a phone call, I've got a call for you for a handover." I said, "Put it through," and she put it through on the link phone to my buzzer, and I pushed the buzzer again, and this voice said, "Hello, is that Council 23? Switched it off and carried on, and proceeded to let the aircraft go to Exeter. And a couple of minutes later, a civilian chief, he's the supervisor from the civil side next door, came and tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "Are you having a problem?" I said, "Not as far as I know." "Why?" He said, "One of my controllers is trying to give you an aeroplane and he can't get through." I said, "Sorry about that. Put up squawk on 7235 and call me 123.4 or whatever the frequency was, and I'll provide you with a service." And the aircraft duty came up with a squawk and called me, and it was a Bryman going from Plymouth to Southampton, to Newquay, to St Morgan. Anyway, I got the 3 aircraft into Exeter, they landed safely, and I got the Bryman into St Morgan, and that was the end of my 2-hour shift. And I was relieved, and I was able to go for a cup of tea. So I thought I'd go in the ops room and apologise to the civilian gentleman. We'd like to keep relations good. And I'd apologise for not taking the aeroplane off him when I was first asked. So I went and saw the civilian chief and said, "One of your chaps was trying to give me an aeroplane. If you tell me which one it is, I'll go and apologise to him." So he said, "Yeah, it's the chap over there in the pink shirt, goes back to us." So I went across to this chap and tapped him on the arm. I said, "I was on 23 next door. Were you trying to give me an aeroplane?" "Yes," he said, "and you went duck to me." And I nearly fell through the floor laughing, because that's the way he spoke. Anyway, having apologised and had my little kerfuffle, I went through the doors into the corridor to go to the canteen, and on the floor was a screw. Must have been 4 or 5 inches in length, stainless steel. Must have cost a fortune. It was whilst they were putting some of the equipment into West Drayton. Anyway, I was wandering down the corridor to go to have my cup of tea, alongside some of the other controllers, and I said to one of the controllers next to me, "Look at that. If you or anybody wants a good screw, tell them to come and see me." And I went into the canteen and got my cup of tea. I hadn't taken a sip and the phone went. "Well, Flight Attendant Jeeps go to see the station commander." Oops, what have I done? Probably the problem over this gentleman that wouldn't give me an aeroplane, and I could explain that. So I went to see the station commander. He said, "Where have you just been?" I said, "Just come from the canteen." He said, "Where were you before that?" I said, "On Culture 23. "And where did you go after there?" I said, "I went to the civilian side and apologised to one of the controllers that I hadn't taken aircraft." "And then where did you go?" I said, "I went to the corridor to the canteen. Where else did I go?" Went. He said, "Who were you with?" I said, "Several controllers. We were wandering down the bunch. It was change over shift." He said, "What did you say?" "What did I say?" He said, "Did you have an object with you?" I said, "Yeah, look. I had that screw. That must cost £5 to make." And I said, "If anybody wants a good screw, come and see me." He said, "Did you realise the person you were talking to was a lady controller?" I said, "No, I didn't." He said she was very upset and she complained. I said there was nothing intended. It was simply a statement of fact. And when I left, he said he thought at the time that I was being a bit funny with this lady controller, and I was making a suggestive remark, and he realised at the end that in fact I wasn't, and I truly wasn't. It was a genuine remark nothing to do with any sexist thing. It was just, if anybody wants this particular screw, then they were welcome to have it. And that was it, really. A good day had by all.
A lot of things happened to you in the RAF.
Well, I did then, yeah, West Oakland.
Cool. Thank you.